All right, let's see if this works. Nice to see you too, Juan. Nice to hear, man. My mother-in-law is here from England, so I'm gonna be quick today. It's her birthday. So just a quick stream to plug the ever important practice room. Where did I put this link? There we go. Afternoon, Alan. Sweden. Stockholm. Did you talk to your brother, Juan, about renting a guitar? I'm guessing you're from the UK, Alan, since you said afternoon as well. Yes, he is. Around 45 minutes from me. By car, that is. Hey, Tuan. Let's see. Are you using your fingers to pick? Yeah, I do. So hybrid picking stuff. Let's see. Hi mate, I'm currently working on a video on left-hand technique and I find some mistakes in your vid. It's really helpful. Okay, do you find some some of your mistakes that I show in your video? Do you find mistakes in my video? It's really helpful when I do design my kind of ride speed. It sounds like you mean that the video helped you, which is awesome because that's why I do them. Alan, thanks. Well, it's tricky initially, of course, but once you, as Key Marcello famously said, it's not that hard when you know it, which is true. But basically, you want to make sure you get the technique right, and I have a whole playlist on my YouTube channel where you can find, you know, I think it's called hybrid picking something, some day of the week. I don't remember. I did it a few years ago, but it's a playlist, and you can find all about the hybrid picking stuff there. Not everything, but you should enough to help you get going. And even though I like to use all fingers, it's, you know, in certain phrases, if I had to choose one thing, it would be to be able to use this finger, right? Because that's such a helpful thing to, I mean, I use more fingers now, but it's such a useful finger for just helping you to play things easier. That would be annoying to do with picking. I mean, you can do it, but it's just a more comfortable technique once you get used to it. And it's almost a bit of an illusion as well, because I don't generally sit and like brrr, go with one finger, right? It's always a note in between. So I never go anything like that. So even if I go, this is the speed I do, you know, with one finger, but when we put it together, it sounds faster. But most of the time, it's just using it instead of having to go back with the pick. So it's very helpful. Play stuff that would be really annoying to play otherwise. Shred! Hey man, how do you feel about practicing without metronome in free tempo, slower down to clean things up, find new things, otherwise fast but always clean, to get maximum amount of clean reps per hour? Yeah, I think depends on what I'm working on, but I would say both are good, because if you're stuck with, like, some people are so stuck with using a metronome, it has to be like, well, not that, that's a nice sound, but if you go, they're so stuck with like click, 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 So they have to have like the click here. Otherwise, you can't do it. But you want to be able to, you know, speed it up. Without relying on, you know, just getting the click going. Because I've seen a lot of people do that, and they might get out of sync on these notes, but the note on the click is usually always in sync. Justin Timberlake. But so it's much better, I think, to work on both ways of doing it. And also, if you have something like this, so you have a loop of 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Start on each note, so you can start on this note as well. This note, and this one. So, and that will really help you with your technique. Hey, Jordan. Thanks. Yes, I have a lot of music, but no guitar, funnily enough. So basically, I started playing guitar, wanting to release instrumental music and all that stuff. And I was in an instrumental band and all that stuff. But I realized, I remember reading interviews with Alan Holdsworth in my early 20s, and he was like, oh yeah, I had to paint fences for a living. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. Like, I had to do some other stuff to make ends meet, and I was quite disillusioned back then by that. Not because money is everything, but you want to make a good living, right? And I figured, like, okay, if a fucking guitar legend has trouble making ends meet, maybe it's not the best way forward to try to make a living making guitar records. So what I did instead was I started writing music for a company called Epidemic Sound. So I wrote close to 700 pieces for them. It's from TV consumptions. It's a lot of wallpaper music, but I learned how to compose properly for orchestras back then. I took lessons and learned how to do that in like real way with notation and proper orchestration and all that stuff. So that was really helpful for my musical development. But long story short, after I'd done so much music that way, it felt quite limiting to try to write like instrumental music for guitar. And also I realized I rarely listen to that anymore, unless it's like stuff that I grew up on, like Maximum Security by Thorne McAlpine and Billy Moore stuff and Yngwie stuff. But other than that, I don't really listen to it. It's a kind of, I'm not saying it's never gonna happen, but it's nothing that I have, planned in that regard. So a lot of people get confused when they search my name on YouTube and they find music and, and there's no guitar in it. So. So the only thing recorded with me, like I've done some guest solos and stuff, and I played guitar on quite a high profile movie as well, but was as sort of like a ghost guitar player because of the union in a certain movie town. And I played a solo in a song in a movie that rhymes with Bock of Sages, but again I can't really use that because it's not official and there's no my name isn't anywhere. So even if I were allowed to tell you exactly what it is, it wouldn't. People would feel like, oh, you're just bullshitting because your name is not on it. But that's the extent that I've done guitar stuff. So, but I do love playing guitar. So that's why I keep doing this and getting better and working on things. I love that. So. So everyone in the chat, I know Jorda is and I know Juan. You need to join here. Well, Ola England, owner of Solar Guitars, he actually basically asked me if I wanted to join a band that it's not a huge name band, but they would be playing prog, what's it called? Prog Power in the United States. This was like in 2017 or 18. And I would have to audition for the band, but it was basically, unless I screwed up terribly, I would probably get the gig. And they had a tour lined up, but I just realized then, I was like, I really don't want to be away from family and all that stuff for doing that stuff, especially if it's not something that I'm not necessarily, super into. And just realize it's not. I know a lot of students of mine would have killed to do that, and I probably would have done it if I was like in my 20s, but I was not interested. So I realized that's not for me. So. But I've always been that way. I don't really get any. Some people get this super big high when they get on stage and everyone's like, look at me. I was more like, I wanted to play well and all that stuff, but it was never an extra thing for me to be on stage. So I don't have that gene where like I need people to like adore me, And I played live a lot in like cover bands and original bands and whatever. But for me, it was mostly like ball ache to drag amplifiers and deal with drummers and all kinds of drunk people when it comes to playing in bars and stuff like that. But so yeah, not for me. Especially now we can make a living as a, bedroom guitar player. You don't need to do all the other shit. So you can leave that to people who really love it. Well, you know, everyone enjoys different things. For me, you know, I think I'm probably a bit of a perfectionist in that way. And, you know, if the sound is crap and you're kind of like, ugh, why am I doing this? So, well, you know, it was fun to do it. And I definitely don't regret having a ton of live experience in that way. But I mean, now it's way different because now you have in-ear monitors and all that stuff. Back then it was just, you know, amplifiers and loud. And I know I'm an outlier here. I know a lot of people feel like, oh, playing live is the tits, but just not for me, so. And I can say that because I've done it. You know, it was one thing if I never done it, right? And I should not comment on it. But since I've done it, I just realized it wasn't the most important thing for me. Would you say wrist picking side to side instead of a more pedal? No idea. It's because it's gonna be, it's different for everyone. I mean, the way that I pick is not gonna be ideal for everyone. So I think it's different depending on your body type and all that stuff. So I wouldn't listen too much to people who say like, oh, it has to be this way, because that's simply not true. You can look at Vinnie Moore picks with his whole arm when he was, you know, into the super picking stuff. Petrucci's wrist and arm. Gilbert mostly wrist, and then you have, you know, Steve Moore's 3 fingers and quite a weird thing going on, but he played too many notes, which is very difficult to play. So you have everything in between, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you practice correctly and don't sit like and think that's going to improve. You need to really be focused on the accuracy. If you want accuracy, that is. Alan, I auditioned for 2 years ago, got called back for a second audition with the band. It was then I realized I didn't want to be on the road once. Yeah, exactly. So it's just, you know, and also I can say I've never really been on the road per se with like the top 40 bar bands I played with. I was just, you know, on the weekends and more in the summer, but it wasn't really a tour. So it wasn't that experience, but being on tour seems to be crap unless you're like Megadeth, Metallica level, where, well, not Metallica level because they're like private jet everywhere, but, you know, higher echelon players where you don't have to do everything yourself. So yeah, Marty Friedman, again, but he's not really, you know, a lot of people bring up Marty Friedman, including myself, but he's not really famous for a lot of super fancy picking. Oh, Dio. Oh, that's cool. How I build my speed, I focus on accuracy whenever I practice anything repetitive. So I've never done the start slow and raise the volume, raise the tempo with the metronome. I always focus on accuracy, and then when I'm done with my practice, I can, you know, try pushing the speed just with different licks and whatever for fun. So I get the very accurate practice on one side, and then I get the pushing of it on the other side, but it's always going to be way more on the accurate side because, yeah, you can't really push something if your technique isn't working, right? Fred, how much per day you play these days on average to keep those chops? Have you ever kept track of that? I did a Google Sheet and average 2 hours weekends. It depends what I'm doing, you know, because I'm making a lot of lesson content, and I have private lessons, and I have the school community, which I'm in every day. So it's, you know, it's a lot of stuff to do every day. But most of that will also be with guitar in hand. But I think that The best thing for me is if I can sit down and, you know, get a couple of hours in of just doing stupid technique things, and then also on top of that learning things by ear, just sitting and playing something, you know, take them from Spotify, put it into Sound Slice, and then just listening to it, and then when I find something that's cool, I will like, oh, this is cool, I'm gonna learn that. So, and you know, I just learn that to expand my vocabulary, and it's fun. So, yeah. Accuracy and then boost tempo. Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of people think that building technique is like progressive overload in weightlifting, where you want to be close to failure and whatever, but that's a shit place to be in when you want to build accuracy. So you see it more as learning to do a great golf swing. So you need to focus on the technique and even break it down into different phases and then try it at speed as well, of course. But I think a lot of people get stuck in like, they want to learn something and they're like, nope, 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 and then like, oh, I got something, and then they think that's, you know, something that's gonna help them, but they should instead say, you know, build the accuracy first, because otherwise you don't have anything to push the speed on. Sound Slice. So SOUND, actually, sorry. I'm not affiliated with this, and also you can sign up for a free account. And basically why I like it is because you can take a YouTube link and chuck it in there. Hey Scott, nice to see you, man. Canadian Divergent, awesome, your alternate pick, Gen X. Yeah, yeah, Gen X for sure. I'm 46. But I think sweep picking is great, so. Because it depends on what you're playing, right? Because if I want to play stuff like, that would be a nightmare, you know, to try to do that with alternate picking. I mean, you can do it better than what I did now, but it still would take you way too long to get to do that. So, no, you have in the practice room, Scott, you have something called the lesson vault, and if you click on that, you get all the details. So basically, those are housed on my Teachable, but you have everything in one course, so to speak. So you have individual lessons with videos and tabs and everything. Like when I play a fast lick, I always have to record and slow down my video to hear the notes. I think if you practice slowly, and the most important thing to learn to hear is to get rid of, when it comes to alternate picking, or any type of picking, get rid of the flams. That kind of stuff where you're a bit early with the finger, so you kind of get a hammer on, but a weak one. So you get this very uncoordinated sound. And to get rid of that, you really need to be like, focus on it, so you get rid of the, when I say flams, it's something a drummer would do, that, right, to get a bigger sound, but you want to get this straight, not that. Yeah, but that playing in like a bar band is good, because you realize after a while that people don't give a shit. So, and we would do stupid. We'd be playing like, we would be playing like Itzy Jam and stuff like that, and people would be like, huh? So, you know, it's All good things, I hope, Scott. Yeah, exactly, Jake. They just realize they don't give a shit. So then you can just play whatever, and that, that's fun. I'm not gonna lie, that's fun. But it's kind of, pay isn't that great, and after a while you just get sick of people getting really hammered. At least here in Sweden, at least at that time, we really hammered around like, from 11 and forward, and you've done it like one in the morning and something, and having to deal with the people who hired you, and they're like, oh, actually, we didn't say we're gonna pay you this much. Like, no. So, how do I deal with string crossings and string skipping? Practice. I mean, a good way to practice doing what I call planting. I mean, it's not my technique. It's a old classical guitar technique. Basically, you just go. Right, so I play the first note, and then I move as quickly as I can to the next string. So I don't do. I go. And this simulates me playing as fast as I can as well, because I'm going here as fast as I can. So if my technique doesn't work, that will be obvious. So. So that's a helpful thing to do. I swear I'm not playing ABBA. And then string skipping, you can do the same thing basically. And hours and hours of practice of doing that. So don't oh, it's only this. No, it takes way longer than that, right? So, and working on different patterns. So. Yeah, my dad used to play. He passed away like 10 years ago, but he used to play 3 nights a week while also having his own business. So he was, and he stopped doing that when I was around 7 or 8, but I still remember him being gone a lot, playing, different settings. Well, Scott, it's a practice technique, right? So it's not really something you should deal with. Oh no, then my dad, no, he stopped doing that like in the early 80s or mid 80s. So anyway, for the rest strokes, you just need to let the pick fall and not try to do too much of that, right? But it's a means to an end. It's not really something you need to do when you're playing. That helps. Yeah, exactly, Jake. Well, I mean, I only do rest strokes for sweep picking to be able to make sure I do it correctly, so I don't get this. Let's see. John, the second image sounds really cool. Just hang on this. Oh, that's great to hear, man. Just go for it. And if you dare, record a version and put it up in the practice room. So, Scott, the rest strokes is a means to an end. It's just to help you make sure you practice the sweep picking, if that's what you're working on. Get that correctly. Canadian, nice. I play hybrid picking style. I think I only missed C Morse, but recently decided to improve my Austin picking, so it's great to see. Looks like your neck is dead flat. Well, the neck doesn't really matter much to me. I have a Fender and a Paul Reed Smith and acoustic, and I can do the same thing on those. So, but I've never been that sensitive to a particular neck because. I've practiced on different things, so yeah, but that's the thing, right? When you've done a lot of orchestral stuff, it feels kind of like limited. If that makes sense. But like I said, I'm not saying that I never will do it, but it's not a priority. And also, there's so many good players now that are doing it as well. So unless I feel like I can contribute to something, I don't see the point. I was thinking the Yngwie 2.4. Do you mean this? That kind of thing? Down, down, up. Well, like I said, Juan, it doesn't really matter. What matters to me is that the strings are even, which might sound like obviously, but and then I'm fine. Even with a higher string height, it doesn't really matter. As long as there's no fuckery going on with the, that the strings are weird, then I'm usually okay. Two notes and then four notes per string. What would that be? Can you give me where is that from? So that's not something that rings a bell for me when it comes to Yngwie. Well, I appreciate that, Fred, but it's not when you start writing. I wouldn't release something unless I felt it was really good. And for now, I'm like, whatever, right? I have so much other things on my mind, so. No, I'm using the archetype Petrucci. I think it sounds good for what it is, so. I'm looking for a new guitar, like no idea. I've never had. I had one Ibanez, but I sold it. I haven't tried the new ones though, like the with the roasted neck and all that stuff. So I'm sure. I mean, people love Ibanez, so don't listen to me. Thing is, I'm sponsored by Solar, so Ola gives me a guitar now and then. So it's it's a Neural DSP archetype Petrucci. Well, I think the thing with Solar is you can only order them online unless you find some use somewhere. I think it's only Thomann, the big German retailer. It's like what's it called? Sweetwater, but for Europe. They have some, at least they did have some deal with Solar. But so Ola's idea with Solar was that, and it came about because he had his own guitar from Washburn. His own Solar was actually his signature model guitar, but he designed it. So when the contract was out, he started Solar Guitars. And a lot of people initially were like, "Oh, you ripped off Washburn." Like, no, he didn't. He designed it, and he kept the copyright to the design. Obviously, Washburn would have sued the crap out of him if that wasn't the case. Anyway, and why I got involved was because he said like, "Oh, okay, we've known of each other because we live in Stockholm and it's not a big city in that regard." And then he saw my Instagram at the time and was like, "Oh, do you want to talk about something?" And then we met up and we talked, and he wanted me to demo the first batch of guitars. And I was a bit confused. I was like, "But dude, you play guitar." And he was like, "Yeah, but I really want to distance myself from the brand in a way," because he didn't want to. And Ola is a super smart guy, clearly, because I wouldn't have thought a bit about this probably. But he was like, "Well, people are going to be confused and think it's like just more of my signature guitars." So he wanted to have someone else initially to start it up. So I think I demoed 8 or 9. If you go to Solar Guitars on YouTube, and like the first few videos is a bunch of videos where I demo the guitars that I released in the first batch. I don't remember if it's like 7, 8, 9 videos or something. And I say demo, I'm just sitting there and do some soloing and stuff off the cuff. And it was kind of funny because I would go to Ola, and then we would like, "Oh, okay, here's a guitar," and he would give me a guitar, and then I played before. I played through some I think it was some early Neural DSP stuff we played through that not my preferred tone. And all right, Canadian, have a good one. And make sure you sign up for this though, if you haven't already, because that's where I'm at all day. I'm gonna start streaming from there as well. But anyway, so basically I would have to just come up with something, and then he would record me, and then we would put it together. And it was tricky sometimes because it's like guitar you never played before. straight out of the factory, and was kind of funny. And one guitar I actually had to take home and practice was the 7-string guitar, because I've never really played a 7-string. And I just thought like, well, if I just do some, low B shugging, and then I can, just do some soloing, and then when I solo, I can just see it as a 6-string guitar. But my brain, conked out hard, because on a 6-string guitar, you get 3 strings that are wound, and you have 3 strings that are unwound. But on a 7-string, all of a sudden I got 4 wound strings, and my brain like, ooh, what's going on? It was a really weird feeling. So basically, I borrowed the guitar, and I practiced for a few days, and I just sat there and did like exercises like that to get used to the, the new number of strings. And after actually, it wasn't that long. It was a couple of hours, and I was good to go. But it was definitely a weird experience. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just one string too much. That's the thing. I'm fine with 6 strings, E standard. That's me. I don't really need anything else. Yeah. Any more questions? Otherwise, I gotta go. Like I said in the beginning here, my mother-in-law is here, and it's her birthday, so I'm cutting this a bit short. Thanks, Milo. I will tell her. You're welcome, man. I do think, we probably need more, real musicians. I'm not talking about me specifically, but just real players at any level make music to combat this fucking shitty AI stuff coming out. Oh, thanks, Jake. All right, see you tomorrow, man. Or man. Can I say that even? Do you get cancelled if you say that? See you tomorrow, everyone.